Hey guys, Shane here, Echo Soundworks. In this video, I'm going to show you a great workflow technique that you can use in any DAW to basically give yourself the tools to always come up with new chord progressions. So if you guys are a beginner producer, maybe you're an intermediate, or maybe you're just starting to take up the keys, you know how difficult it can be to come up with chord progressions, especially ones that are interesting and unique. Now, it becomes even more difficult when you try to learn a bunch of chord progressions in multiple different keys. So quick disclaimer about this video, this technique, this workflow isn't there. I'm not putting it out there showing you guys this idea so you don't have to learn music theory. I'm an advocate for learning music theory. You don't have to go crazy with it if you don't feel like you need to, but it does help to know basic music theory concepts. But for those of you out there who maybe open up your piano roll, your MIDI editor, and your DAW, and you just see all the notes, it's kind of like a crazy blank canvas, and you just get, it just seems like a daunting task to come up with a new chord progression. This technique is for you. So like I said, you can do this in any DAW. So let's dive into Logic, and I'll show you how to do it. All right, so step one is load up a instrument. I have a piano pulled up, sounds like this. All right, step two would be to create a MIDI region or a clip in your DAW. So we're gonna do that now, drag it out to just 4 bars, that'll work. All right, so the first thing you wanna do is you wanna select your scale if your DAW allows you to do that, and most DAWs do. So I'm gonna select right now, I'm gonna select F minor. And if you guys want, I actually have scales pre-made for every major and minor key. If you guys want those, if I get enough comments wanting those, I will add a description to the link allowing you guys to download those, and then you can just import the MIDI file into any DAW, and you'll be able to do this without having to create any on your own. So again, if you want those, let me know in the post or in the comments, and I will add it if enough people want it. So now what I'm gonna do is let's just highlight all these, mute them. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a scale basically at the start of the measure here. So now we have an F minor scale stacked on top of itself. So we're gonna delete this top one. So we just have the 7 notes. And then I'm gonna drag this up to F. All right, so now we have 3 octaves, or about 4 octaves. So you might be thinking, why did I just go through all that trouble? Well, I went through all that trouble because now I can see every correct note and any potential incorrect note in this scale. So if I wanna create a chord progression or modify a chord progression using my pencil tool or my mouse basically in my DAW, it's a lot easier, right? And I'll show you how you can get started with this process if it still seems a little bit daunting. Now you can even take this a step further. So a lot of DAWs give you this option to fold or collapse the scale or the region or your clip. So in Logic, I can hover over this button right here, and I can select it, and that will collapse or fold my scale to basically only show notes that there are already notes on, whether they're muted or not, right? So right now, I could use my pencil tool to pencil in notes separately, not the brush tool, which will lock to the scale, but now I can actually, I can't hit a wrong note, essentially. And I like using this technique when I'm trying to come up with a melody, but for chord progressions, I like to stay in the uncollapsed view because I think you learn a little bit more about the theory behind what you're doing because you can see and experience, wrong notes and inputting incorrect notes or how certain notes and intervals work with chords. But then also, I think it's just easier to see everything. The next step is to create your chord progression. And the first step in that step is I would suggest creating a bass line. So we're gonna double click to get a note in. We're gonna start down here at the very bottom. This is an F0. So to keep things simple for this tutorial, we're just gonna make each chord basically be a bar. All right, so let's create a little riff here. And look, I can see that this note is in my scale, right? Because I can reference it with that little note that we created. It's really helpful. So now we're creating a bass line. And we'll go. And let's take this down to. So that's the chord progression I'm kind of going for here. So let's just fill out the other notes now in the first chord. So let's take this up to, easiest one to do obviously is create the octaves above all of the chords. So pretty much all of these I want an octave above it in it. So I'm gonna highlight all of them, drag it up an octave, this first note. So now we have right? So now let's get in and shape the rest of the chords. So let's go and let's put this at a C2. And we'll just keep working on this first chord here. We'll do C2. Let's try. Let's do an F2. And I don't know if I like that F1, so let me just take this, pop that up to a G2. And we'll do, let's do it. All right, nice sounding chord, right? All right, so let's move on to the next chord. We already have a shape basically. Let's go to, let's do the A sharp. Let's do G sharp. Let's do D sharp 2 on that as well. And we'll do a G3 up here to get some good voice leading. So that's kind of how I'm following this. I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what happens if I pop a note down below, maybe 1 or 2 steps. I still want some tight voice leading. So D sharp 2, keep this one a little bit tighter. We already have that. Let's move this up to a C3. And let's do a C4. Let's spread this one out a bit. All right, so let's delete this one. Not sure if I want that. We're gonna do A sharp 1. Actually, I do want that one. I'll keep that there. And then let's do an F2 on this one. I'm just gonna play it from this section. Sounds good. And then we'll do a C sharp 3 to get some voice leading up from that middle tone there. And then let's do an F3 on top of that. And then I think I wanna do a G sharp 3. All right, so that sounds pretty good. So check this out. Right, and I'm literally I was following these notes, dragging and dropping. Now, again, you don't want to use this as a crutch and use this as the only way to create chord progressions. Once you do this enough, though, in certain keys, you'll start to kind of pick up on different notes and different combinations of notes and different intervals that create various chords. So what I like to do, if a couple years ago when I was using this technique, what I do is I double back just to learn so I know what these chords were, right? Or what they are. And to do that in Logic, I can see this is an F minor 7, an E flat major, A flat major, and then a B minor 7. And then what I would do on keys is, now that I have this chord progression, I'd keep working on my track, and then next couple days, maybe I'd open up that session again. I would learn this chord progression on my keyboard so I could actually play it myself and understand it, right? So I just loaded up an instance of SERUM, and I pulled up a patch from our pack Vibes. It sounds like this. And I wanted to show you this because we can take this a step further and expand on what we've done. This technique is a great way or method to come up with the melody on top of the chords, right? So for a lot of different genres, that's helpful. Now, what I like to do for this is actually collapse everything. So now I can't hit a wrong note, and I'll pull up my pencil tool. And what we're gonna do is just add in some notes here. Right, and just like that, we now have a melody on top of the chord progression. So that's gonna sum up this video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, post those and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. If you guys like this video and you wanna see more videos like it, please hit that like and subscribe button. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.